Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Veracity. My name is Khushbu and in this video we are going to discuss about one of the very important topic in context of big data, that is something called as its characteristics. Here we will look about what are the characteristics of big data and how it is contributing to the big data domain. So without wasting our time, let us start and see what are all those characteristics. So starting from the history, it all started in the year 2001. Big data characteristic came into picture with 3 V's of big data. What was that? That was volume, variety and velocity. With time, one another V of big data got added in this characteristic, that is called as veracity. With time, one more V's of big data came into picture and got added, contributing it to make it as 5 V's of big data. We will be understanding here what are 5 V's of big data. So let us see what are those. So as you can see here on the screen, these are called as 5 V's of big data. So the first one is volume, the second one is velocity, the third one is variety, the fourth one is veracity, and the fifth and last one is value. We will discuss about each one of that one by one. So let us start with first V of big data, that is volume. Alright. So here as you can see, volume refers to the size of the data. As the name suggests, volume means what is the amount, what is the size of the data. Big data in itself is a huge amount of data. If the size of the data will not be so huge, it cannot be considered as the big data. So volume is one of the very important characteristics of big data. For an example, we can take the growth in the volume of data is predicted to be grow by 175 zettabyte in the year 2025. So isn't it data is expected to be grown exponentially in the coming years? Alright, so this was all about volume. Let's move to the other V of big data, that is velocity. So in the simple term, you can understand this velocity as speed. And if I relate this to the big data characteristic, it will be considered as the speed of the data getting generated. Let us understand about the velocity here. Velocity refers to the high speed of accumulation of data. Means what is the speed of the data that to be generated? What is the speed of accumulation of the data? Now, the next point says velocity indicates speed at which data flows in from sources such as machines, networks, social media, mobile phones, etc. As I already explained in my previous video, there are various sources which is contributing big data to grow exponentially day by day. So these are some of the sources such as machines, networks, social media, mobile phones. So it's like that velocity of data being generated or the speed of the data being generated should not reach to the highest or should be the minimum. Alright, so for an example of velocity, we can take that Google was receiving 32.8 billion of searches per day in the year 2001. But now in 2022, almost Google is receiving approx 2 trillion of searches per day. So don't you think that the speed of data being generated has reached to the maximum? Alright, so this was all about velocity. Moving towards the other V's of big data, that is variety. So here as the name suggests, so variety in general word means type. And if I relate it to big data, that means type of the data being generated. In my previous video, I already have explained about what is big data, what are the types of big data and the sources of big data. There I have explained very nicely what are the types of the big data. So if you haven't watched that video, please go and check it out. If not, I'll be giving that link in the description box. So I'll give you a quick overview of that here. So I explained about the 3 types of big data. What was structured. The second one was unstructured, and the third one was semi-structured. Alright. So structure means structured type of data properly formatted in the rows and columns manner in a spreadsheet, you can say. After that, the unstructured type of data are those data in the form of audio, picture, videos and text. If I talk about semi-structured, it is neither structured nor unstructured. Then what type of data is considered as semi-structured? It is in the form of CSV, JSON or XML. So variety here means the nature of data. What is the nature of the data? Whether it is structured, unstructured or semi-structured. So variety is basically the arrival of data from different sources. What are the type of the data that is being arrived from different sources? So this was all about variety. Moving towards the other V's of big data, that is something called as veracity. Now let us understand about veracity. Veracity means trustworthiness of the data. Means the data that has been collected, what is the quality of that data, what is the trustworthiness of that data. The data that has been collected, it is so bulky or is it so less in size. Mean to say that the data which we collect, that should not be so huge in size, because that could again create a problem in understanding, getting the insights from that particular data. And if the size of the data will be so less, that will again lead to generate incomplete information, or you can say partial information. So in both cases, it is going to create a problem. So the trustworthiness of data should be maintained. Here you can see the veracity refers to inconsistencies and uncertainties in the data. Alright, so I hope you understood about the veracity of the data. After that, moving towards the next V, that is value, which is the last V of big data. Let us understand about that. As the name suggests, value of the data. What is the value of the data? What is the usefulness of the data? This value of the big data is considered to be very important characteristics, because all of those characteristics depends indirectly or directly on this part. If the data that has been collected will not be useful to us, will not be valuable to us, that is of no use, right? So here value refers to the usefulness of data, because data is of no use if it is not valuable to extract the information. Means the data should be like that we can get some insight out of that. If the data will be of no value, it could be of no use to any organization or for any particular work or for any particular analysis. So this was all about the 5 V's of big data. So I hope you understood what are the 5 V's of big data and what does it mean. If you would have learned something from this video, then please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. Till then, keep learning and stay tuned for getting the latest videos. Thank you so much.